This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. So, here's what's going on today. Saw Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, reported that Dez Bryant is... he could potentially end up in Cleveland. And I like that move. We're going to talk about that for the first segment. The second segment, we will be heading over to the NBA. CJ McCollum, he's got a podcast, and it wasn't like a big, huge thing or anything on social media, but nonetheless, you saw that he had Kevin Durant as a guest on his podcast. And CJ McCollum basically is talking about how he didn't like how Boogie went to the Warriors. It's like how it wasn't fair and all that. And then CJ McCollum, I think, went on to say that he thinks the Trailblazers could go out and win a championship. And then KD proceeded to laugh at him. Okay. Well, not laugh at him, but laugh at the idea, I'm assuming. I like that. I've been waiting to see that from the Warriors. So like I said, we'll talk about that for the second segment. Third segment, we'll get into some MLB stuff, as we have been doing. I mean, we had the A's yesterday who were down 10-2 to the Rangers. I mean, the A's, it's ridiculous how well they've been playing. And this is how the A's are, okay? It's weird how, like, you got the Red Sox, and they'll go and they'll win games, and they'll just beat teams, like a normal baseball team. Win games, okay? And the Yankees, they do the same thing, same with the Astros and all that. But the A's, they have this thing about them where they don't make it easy. They go on winning streaks and all that to put themselves in these places. Like, they're not, I don't know. It's just the A's are a weird team. And I think that's just the point I'm trying to get at. I mean, only like the A's, it's just, they're like a team of destiny, pretty much, whenever they're good. You don't expect them to be a top team in the MLB year to year. And I mean, even going into the season, I don't even think anyone was expecting the A's to do anything. But nonetheless, they have these, these breaks that go their way. All right? The games where they're down 10-2, but somehow still pull out a win. That's what I mean by A's being the team of destiny or whatever. They're not going to consistently just win ball games throughout. They're going to make it difficult, and there's sometimes where it's going to be like they played the Giants. All right, perfect example. They played the Giants this past weekend in Oakland for their little Bay Bridge series, and the A's ended up taking that series 2 out of 3, won both games off of walk-offs, and that's the point I'm trying to make here. We see this A's team pulling it out late in games. So you know what? We'll talk more about it in the third segment. I did give a lot on it already. But either way, like I said, we'll be talking about the MLB in the third segment. And then for the fourth segment, we'll be talking about anything else going on in the world of sports. Got a couple of good International Champions Cup games going on tonight. We got Juventus, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund versus Benfica, Manchester City versus Liverpool, Roma, Tottenham, and then Milan versus Manchester United. And also, for that fourth segment, we will be talking about the fact that Andrew Luck could play in the first preseason game. Andrew Luck, yes. All right. I'm sure most don't remember him, but either way, he's back. He's not a myth. He's a real person. So we'll be talking about him in the fourth segment. I got some thoughts on Andrew Luck about as far as, we saw Andrew Luck back when he was not hurt and all that playing. He made the team around him better? Does he still have that same ability? Is he going to be the same quarterback that we've seen? That's like the biggest question. So we'll see about it. But nonetheless, let's get into this Dez Bryant and Cleveland Browns talk. So we know what's going on with Josh Gordon. We've covered it the last couple of days, talked about it. Josh Gordon going to counseling. It's been, at least I've seen, it's because of anxiety and mental health issues. I think that has to do with the fact that you got Hard Knocks coming in. Josh Gordon has basically not played a full season in a few years. I mean, the Browns went 0-16 last season. So, I mean, a lot of the storylines are going to be surrounding, like, the Browns and all that. But nonetheless, you got Josh Gordon who's coming off of substance abuse issues. I mean, that's an easy story for Hard Knocks to tell throughout training camp. And I was talking with Tate yesterday about it, and he was basically telling me that. I mean, that's a lot of pressure on a guy, so that's probably why he's ending up in counseling. But either way, the Browns are without their top receiver for the first, well, I guess until further notice. So then we see John Dorsey, and again, I'm referring back to the Pro Football Talk article. John Dorsey says that Gordon can come back whenever he's ready. I don't think there's really a rush on him, and there shouldn't be. All right. Obviously, this is more important. But either way, John Dorsey isn't just sitting back and waiting for Josh Gordon. He's being proactive about it, and he stated that they do have interest in Dez Bryant. And that makes me happy. I mean, Dez Bryant, his last 2 years in Dallas weren't great. I mean, we don't have to lie about it. We know. They were awful. Or at least they weren't awful. They weren't up to Dez Bryant standards. Because, I mean, there was a point in time where Dez Bryant was the best receiver in football. And now it's pretty much a man who was once the best receiver in football hasn't been able to find a job. And I figured that once Dallas cut him, he wasn't going to be getting signed till training camp anyway. I don't think Dez Bryant is a locker room problem, but of course the media, when you got Dez Bryant yelling on the sidelines, they will portray it in that way, and that is going to scare some teams. So that's why I figured, you know what, training camp will be when he ends up signing with a team. And there's a point where I think his time in Dallas the last 2 years was, like, him not being as good as he was. I think it was due, in fact, because he was coming off of a foot injury, I believe it was. But not only that, you have Alex Smith 2.0 playing quarterback for that team. Talking about Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is a whole lot more cautious than Tony Romo ever was. Tony Romo had no problem throwing the ball up to Dez Bryant and hoping and praying that Dez Bryant came down with that ball. Dak Prescott is not going to go out and take that chance. So that's why I compare him to Alex Smith. And me comparing him to Alex Smith isn't like a shot at Dak Prescott or anything like that, because I think Alex Smith is a top 10 quarterback. I mean, you guys know, I talk about him all the time. I think he's 10, 11, or 12 amongst quarterbacks. I mean, the dude took San Francisco to the playoffs. Could have went to a Super Bowl if it wasn't for Kyle Williams. All right, sorry 49ers for that bad memory. I mean, he went to the playoffs with the Chiefs, made it 4 out of the 5 years. Honestly, I blame them not going far in the playoffs because of Andy Reid. There's a point, Andy Reid, great coach, I mean, amazing with quarterbacks, but even with his time in Philly, could not get it done in the playoffs. I mean, he got to a Super Bowl, and I think that was his best ever right there. His best run, obviously. But either way, Andy Reid has always had a problem as far as like time management and pretty much just getting out of his own way. So, yeah, I think Alex Smith, a great quarterback, and I think Dak Prescott is the perfect comparison for him. So like I said, when you got Dak Prescott who is going to dump the ball off, is going to throw the slant route and all that, that's not Dez Bryant's game. I mean, Dez Bryant maybe could have shifted his game a little bit more to adapt to this offense, but either way, I think it just wasn't ever going to work with Dak Prescott and Dez Bryant, mainly because Dez Bryant wasn't the focal point of the offense. Okay, going forward now, it's Ezekiel Elliott. The offense revolves around him. Dez Bryant is, well, at least I'm assuming, well, at least before Dak got there, was good enough to be the focal point of an offense. So I think it was probably best that they split. But either way, if Dez Bryant was to end up with Cleveland, on the surface, that seems like a great move. I mean, that makes Cleveland a whole lot better. I'm not one of those who has given up on Dez Bryant. I still think he could be. I don't think he'll ever return to being like a top receiver in the league. But either way, he could be top 10 again. I'm assuming. And I mean, I've been wanting Dez Bryant to go to San Francisco. I think San Francisco needs a number one receiver. I know they drafted Dante Pettis in the second round. But I mean, I've seen Dante Pettis play at Washington. He was a good college receiver, but he never really, watching him is like, oh yeah, this guy's a real good receiver, but I never thought, and again, this is just my opinion, I never thought that Dante Pettis would ever be a number one receiver in the NFL. So that's why I figured San Francisco could bring on Dez Bryant. He's going to be relatively cheap. And you give Jimmy G his number one receiver, that's going to be an easy combo, touchdowns all day there. But I feel like San Francisco, they got their plan, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. They've been making, solid moves throughout. So they know what they're doing. But here, we got it over in Cleveland. You had Dez Bryant there. I do like it, but there's the whole point of being off-season champs. It never works out. We point back to that Philly team. Vince Young, Nnamdi Asomugha, brought in a whole bunch of other players. Vince Young coined them as the dream team. I think that was Vince Young's last season ever in Philly. It was just terrible. Nnamdi Asomugha just forgot how to play cornerback, and I think now he's making movies. If you're Cleveland, what you got going on right now is good. You don't want to do too much. And you look over at the Los Angeles Rams. They added Peters. They added Talib, Sue, and Cooks. Are they doing too much? I don't think the Rams are, because they filled needs. They needed help in the secondary. You go and get Talib and Peters. You needed a number one receiver. You go and get Cooks. The only, luxury pickup for the Rams was Sue. And with the Browns, you have Gordon, Landry, and Coleman. And Njoku playing tight end. I don't think that there was a real need. I don't think there is a real need at wide receiver for Cleveland. And I'm assuming so. If you bring on Dez Bryant, that's going to move Coleman to the bench. But I think Coleman is too good to keep as your fourth receiver. Plus, you did draft Antonio Callaway this season. So, looking at it, you'd have... Well, even then, I think Ricardo Lewis is going to be out for a while. So, with Lewis out, you add Dez Bryant. You do have 5 receivers. Gordon, Landry, Coleman, Callaway, and Dez. If Dez doesn't end up becoming a Brown. So I guess it would work, but I just think that Coleman is too good to keep as a fourth receiver. And if they end up bringing on Dez, I think maybe, and I don't know, man, maybe I'm just not believing enough in it. But because I think Coleman can be a very good number 2 receiver in this league. He'll never be a number 1, but as far as being on the number 2, he could be that. But I'm thinking if you got to move Coleman to the bench and he's going to get limited snaps because you got Dez Bryant out there, why not trade the guy and get something for him? Cleveland's done well over the years to accumulate draft picks, and it seems like that's starting to work out. I'm sure you could get a decent draft pick for Coleman. I'm sure there's a team out there who needs a receiver like Coleman. But either way, I would like to see Dez in Cleveland. I think it'd be perfect. Right now, Cleveland's kind of got the underdog mentality, and I'm sure Dez Bryant's coming with that mentality too, so I think it'd be a nice little fit. But we'll see if it ends up happening. I think it might, just given the fact that it's not just a report from sources, it's John Dorsey. It's coming from him. It's the Cleveland Browns GM saying, yes, we are interested in Dez Bryant. So if it does happen, I'll like the move. And I also saw too, I'm not sure how true this report is, but they're going to be moving Jarvis Landry to the outside. Why? If this is true, why is Cleveland getting in their own way once again? Honestly, Jarvis Landry is the best slot receiver in the league. Why are you going to make him play on the outside? If this report is true. It makes no sense to me. But either way, that's all I got to say about that. Like I said, the whole Jarvis Landry thing, I'm not sure how true it is, but it's something I saw, and it's something that's notable. If you put Jarvis Landry on the outside, it makes no sense. So we'll see if Cleveland ends up with Dez Bryant. I think it's a possibility, but either way, we'll end up seeing about it. So next up, we're going to be talking about the Warriors, and pretty much, like I said, KD, he was on CJ. We'll talk about that. All right, so stay tuned, and I'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Alright, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. I spent that first segment talking about Dez Bryant, the possibility of him ending up with Cleveland. John Dorsey says they're interested, so I'm assuming that this is one that's probably going to end up getting done. I'd like it. I think it'd be a good fit. It's a lot of receivers on your team, and I don't really think that receiver's too much of a need for Cleveland right now. But either way, I mean, Cleveland was 0-16 last season, 1-15 the year before that. You got to go out and do whatever you can to win some ball games. I mean, you got those fans out there selling out the stadium week in and week out, which is ridiculous. But, I mean, I guess you can't question their loyalty. So, I mean, you need to reward them with some wins. Do something at least. I mean, it's been 20 years of complete misery, and they're still putting money in your pockets. So, we'll see if it ends up happening. But now we shift over to the NBA. And like I said, CJ McCollum, he's got a podcast. I feel like everyone does now, but either way, he was talking to KD on that podcast, and they were talking about how the Warriors got DeMarcus Cousins and all that, and how it was a bit unfair. KD laughs. CJ McCollum talks about how he thinks Portland can go out and win a championship. KD laughs once again. And it was a topic on social media. It wasn't like a huge topic or anything like that, but either way, I think you could tell it rubs some people the wrong way. All right? As far as what I think of it, I love it. I've been waiting for the Warriors to do this for the last couple of years. Going into the season, everyone knows that the Warriors are the favorites to win the title. Laker fans, they're excited they got LeBron. Celtics fans, they're excited that Kyrie and Gordon Hayward are coming. Plus, you got Jason Tatum, who could become an even better player after his rookie year. Toronto's happy that they got Kawhi Leonard. Philly is excited that they got Ben Simmons developing. Joel Embiid looking like a stud already. Markelle Fultz seems like, at least reports been coming out, that he's got his jump shot fixed. Houston, they're happy they got Chris Paul back. I'm not sure how they feel about Melo. I think everyone's starting to come to the realization that Melo isn't that great of a player anymore. And then the Jazz, they're ready to see what Donovan Mitchell can do in year 2. So you got teams, yeah, everyone's excited. But when it comes down to it, everyone knows who is the favorite and who is almost certainly going to win the title, and that's the Warriors. And I don't like the whole, like with the Warriors, okay, I don't like the whole, well, anything could happen, nothing's guaranteed type of mentality. From the Warriors, I want to see we're the best team in the league, we know what we can do, and we will know what we're going to do. I want to see that from the Warriors. And I know that's not very popular, because I know majority of fans want to see players humble and all that good stuff. But no, I want to see the Warriors tell people that they know they're bad. They know that no one touches them. Draymond Green is one who tends to do that. But as far as the other Warriors players, I mean, Klay Thompson is probably the most quiet player I've ever seen during a regular season. The dude will say about 10 words, I guess, for a whole season. Steph Curry, he's got this whole thing, family guy, humble, all that. So he can't really go out and, I guess during the game is the only time where he can go out and show off a bit and celebrate. But as far as him saying, oh yeah, no one comes close to us, that'd be bad PR, bad publicity for him. Just because, I mean, like I said, he's got this whole image built up. And KD, who might be the softest player in the league, I think is finally starting to come around and realize that these other opinions don't matter. He's one of the best players in the league, and he plays on the best team in the league. KD, I mean, with the whole him having burner accounts on Twitter, replying back to people who, I mean, he's still doing it. I'm telling you right now, if you go on KD's Instagram and you're able to send him a direct message, he'll probably reply back to you. But the point I'm trying to make here is I think KD is starting to turn into that villain that everyone has made him out to be. And I'm all here for it. I mean, remember when LeBron went to Miami? I think Miami LeBron is probably the biggest villain in the history of the NBA. As far as being a great player and just being hated because you're good, I guess. Or that you went to a good... I don't know. Why did everyone start hating LeBron when he went to Miami because of the decision or because he left Cleveland? If it's because of the decision, I mean, I guess I get it. Either way, we were all glued to our TVs for it. And I mean, if you're mad at him for leaving Cleveland, you shouldn't be unless you are a Cleveland fan. And even then, so I mean, it's a business. Players come and go. Shouldn't get that mad over it anyway. But, emotional attachment. But either way, like I said, I think KD is starting to embrace that villain role, and that's going to make the Warriors even better. If KD's out there playing, not even caring what anyone else thinks, there's no pressure on him. All right? But like I said, I mean, I want the Warriors to know that they're the best team in the league and no one can come close to them. That makes it better. Because you know what? That's the Floyd Mayweather effect right there. People don't like Floyd Mayweather. Floyd was constantly getting millions of buys on his pay-per-views for his fights just because of the fact that people hated him. People wanted to see Floyd lose. And if you got the Warriors turning into some villains, and you got them out there talking trash, pretty much letting the league know, hey, you guys have no chance, so whatever hope you got as far as winning a title, lose it, that's going to bring ratings to the NBA. People are going to hate watch the Warriors and hope that empire falls. And, I mean, I think the majority of fans assume that the Warriors have ruined the NBA. And I think that's false. I think that the Warriors being this good, even them adding DeMarcus Cousins, is great for the NBA. Because you know what? Ratings. Let's not forget that this is business first. Everything else comes after. I guarantee you, all right? Well, looking at it last year, the ratings last year were higher than they have been for 4 years. I think 2013, since 2013, 2007, this last year was the highest they've been. I am willing to wager that this year, the ratings are going to be way better than this past season's. And again, like I said, last season's ratings were the best since 2013. But if you got the Warriors turning into villains, plus, like I said, you got the Celtics, who got Kyrie and Gordon Hayward coming back. Lakers got LeBron. Kawhi's a Raptor. Philly's got their young team. They're still developing and all. Houston is trying to come back for Golden State. There's a lot of storylines. Everyone's coming for Golden State's head. You're telling me no one's going to watch that? You're telling me that the Warriors have ruined the NBA so much to where you're not going to watch? That's false. And I say people who say that the Warriors being bad for the league, no one's going to watch, like that's the most baseless opinion there is out there right now. Because it's simply not true. It's a fact that there have been more eyeballs watching than the last 4 years. That doesn't make sense to say that no one's going to be watching when everyone literally is watching. I mean, of course, you go through the playoffs, the Warriors are going to beat everyone. They're going to win it all. Either way, though, you're still going to tune in. Because you want to know why? Because we're sports fans. All right? I see the fans. They'll go and they will threaten to not watch or whatever. And you could say that on social media for everyone to see. But you know and I know we are still tuning in to that game. Maybe you're not talking about it. You're not talking about it on Facebook. You're not tweeting about it. You're not Snapchatting it, Instagramming it, whatever your cup of coffee is as far as social media goes. But you know you're still watching that game. As much as you hate it, you love it. All right? You hate to see the Warriors as good as they are. So you watch to see if LeBron James can knock them off. To see if the Rockets can go and actually hit a 3 instead of missing 27 straight. You see if maybe Brad Stevens and that Celtics team can make it through the East and cause some trouble for the Warriors in the finals. All right. You're watching because you want to see them fail, and it's genius. The Warriors have gotten so good to where, like I said, it's the Floyd Mayweather effect. At least I believe. And I have no problem with the Warriors being this good either. I mean, I'm a fan of the game. All right. I have a favorite team and all. But either way, I don't get as emotionally invested as the next fan does, I'm assuming. I mean, if my team goes out, my team has made the playoffs last couple of years, got knocked out. Either way, I don't get frustrated at the fact that I've had to see Cleveland and Golden State for the last 4 years. Because I still love watching basketball. I know that the next season, my team's still going to be there. They're still going to be playing. Next season, maybe there's a better chance of them getting farther. But either way, I'm still tuning in because it's not going anywhere. And I feel like a lot of fans who hate on the Warriors a lot isn't more so the Lakers. Well, obviously you have the Laker fans, Rockets fans, Celtics fans who are a little annoyed at the fact that the Warriors are so good. But it's like, it's the fans of teams who have absolutely, like, who would have had no chance whatsoever even if the Warriors weren't this good, that are the most mad about it. Because I think that gives them a reason to justify the fact that their team hasn't won anything in ever. All right. I mean, Kings fans, I mean, they already hated the Warriors before that, but I see a lot of Kings fans, Warriors winning the NBA, no one has a chance. I mean, let's get it out there. If you're a Kings fan, your team hasn't had a chance since 2002. I mean, 2006 was the last time in the playoffs. The Warriors being this good does not affect your team's chances. Your team just stinks. Detroit Pistons fans, same thing with them. I mean, you can go down the line. Charlotte Hornets fans. I'm sure you got Charlotte Hornets fans who are upset at the fact that the Warriors are this good. They're assuming, oh yeah, this is why no one has a chance. Your team didn't have a chance before that. And that's just the way it is. You see teams like fans of the Lakers, Celtics, Rockets, obviously the top teams out there. They're still excited because they know there's a chance. The Warriors obviously are going to be the favorites in any game they play, in any series they play, but there's a chance of your team coming out with a win in that series or game. As far as those bottom teams, there's no chance. That's why they're so mad. So, I'm all for this KD turning into a villain if that's what's going on here. I mean, it's better for the NBA when you got villains. It's better for all sports when you got villains. It's going to drive up ratings. People are going to scream at walls saying, oh yeah, ratings are going to go down, no one's going to watch. When in reality, all you have to do is search it up and see how wrong it is. So, Warriors, great for the NBA. KD laughing at CJ McCollum for saying that he thinks Portland has a chance at winning the title is great for basketball. It is great. And sometimes I wonder about that too. I mean, we see teams like the Thunder last year. Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook. They actually thought that they had a chance at winning something last season. I mean, as soon as Melo and Paul George went there, I knew it was going to fail. Sure, they make the playoffs or whatever, but they weren't going to do anything. But it's crazy what confidence does to you. Like, it'll legit make you think that you really have a legitimate shot to go out and win a title when the Warriors are out there. I mean, it's crazy. All right. And I guess that's what CJ McCollum's got. He's got confidence. I mean, yeah, you got swept by the Pelicans last year, but go on. Go ahead and tell us how you're going to go out and win a championship. Sure thing, man. All right. Well, that's all I got to say about that. Next up, we're going to be talking some MLB. We talked briefly about the A's in the first segment when we were starting out. We'll talk more about them. I think the Yankees might be possibly imploding. They're like on the verge. We'll be talking about everything that has to do with anything in the MLB, so stay tuned and I'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. First two segments, we've talked about Dez Bryant and the possibility of him ending up with the Browns, and we talked about, for the second segment, the Warriors turning into some villains. Now, we move on over to the MLB, where, like I said, the A's are shocking everyone. I'm not sure how they continue to win like this, but either way, they're doing it. I mean, look at the game yesterday. It was 10-2, I believe. Let me see if I can go inning by inning with this game, because I mean, it's ridiculous how this team is doing it. So let me see if I could find. All right, so they're down. Let me see. They're down 10-2 in the sixth inning. 10-2 in the sixth inning, usually in baseball, that's all she wrote. You're going against professional pitchers and all that. It's going to be difficult to put a bunch of runs on the board from the seventh inning on and win a game. But either way, this A's team is somehow defying the odds with walk-offs, with crazy wins, and with crazy comebacks like this. Like I said, 10-2 in the sixth. Seventh inning comes. A's put 3 on the board, 10-5. Eighth inning comes. A's put 4 runs on the board, 10-9. Ninth inning comes. A's put a run on the board, it's 10-10. Then in the 10th inning, you got Chris Davis, who, I mean, pretty much just hits home runs for a living. The dude will not hit for batting average or anything like that, but when he does hit the ball, it's going out the park, and that's exactly what he did in the top of the 10th. He hits a 3-run shot. The A's come back, and they win 13-10. I mean, it's like I said, it's ridiculous how this team is doing it. Going into the season, no one was expecting the A's to do anything. I figured they'd be bottom of the division, terrible team, just typical A's, awful. And that has not been the case at all, and it's looking like the A's are legitimate. They're a legit team. They're not pretenders or anything like that. The A's are a good baseball team, and as weird as it is to say, it's the truth. And with the A's, I can't remember the last time they've been like the Yankees or Red Sox, meaning they just got a good team going into the season. You know they're going to perform well and get wins. The A's, whenever they have a decent season, it's always a surprise. And the way they do it is crazy. I'm just amazed at the fact that this team knows how to win when it's close and when they have no business winning. I mean, like I said, the walk-offs. 2 walk-offs against the Giants in that Bay Bridge series. Is it the Bay? Battle of the Bay series. All right. Bay Bridge, Battle of the Bay, it's all the same. 2 walk-offs. Then you got them winning. I think they got the second most one-run win games of any team in the MLB, so they're second amongst that. And like I said, yesterday, you got them losing to the Texas Rangers 10-2, and they come back and win 13-10. I mean, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. You should not be, and I'm not trying to downplay the A's or anything like that, but it's true. You should not be as good as the A's are when you're winning this way. I mean, they've had a bunch of pitchers at the DL, and I mean, they're winning with a bunch of guys who, if we're being real here, you wouldn't know them if they walked down the street, and you wouldn't even know they're a baseball player if I told you their name. I mean, how many people are going to know who Mark Canha's name is? How many people are going to know who that is? All right. How many people are going to know who Marcus Semien is? I mean, the A's somehow, without having any money whatsoever, tend to put together or bring up a decent team every few years. And this is that few year right here. All right. This is the year where they're going to make the playoffs. They'll probably either get bounced in the wild card round or the ALDS. They'll be decent next season, and then they'll trade everyone away and restart from there. All right? I mean, it's basically a cycle. It's like clockwork. So, I'm fine with the A's being this good. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think that they're going to jump the Mariners as far as that second wild card spot. As far as the first wild card spot, don't even think about it because that's going to either Boston or the Yankees. And as of right now, it looks like it's going to the Yankees. And speaking of the Yankees, they lost again today. Lost to the Rays. So I'll stat against the Orioles and Rays, they are 11-11. The Yankees, if they want to be regarded as, well, I mean, they already are regarded as one of the top teams in the MLB. I mean, the Yankees are probably the third best team in the majors right now. But either way, the Yankees have a problem for some reason beating weaker teams. Against the top teams in the league, sure, they'll do fine. I mean, they're not going out and winning every single game, but they do well enough to where, obviously, they don't have a problem going up against the best. Okay, if the Yankees were good enough to the point where they could beat these lower teams, they'd be right up there with the Red Sox. And that's what's going on with Boston. They're beating up on the lower teams, and they're getting wins that they need against the top teams. You're obviously not going to sweep teams like the Astros or like that, but if you take 2 out of 4, all right, or even get like 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 3, it doesn't even matter. You just need to pick up wins against these top teams. Yankees are doing that. They're struggling against the bottom of the barrel teams out here. All right. And I saw that Gary Sanchez, we talked about on yesterday's episode actually, talked about how, I mean, the dude basically, it wasn't all on him, them losing to the Rays, but nonetheless, those 2 plays where he lacked hustle were some problems. I mean, the first one with the pass ball he jogged, gave up a run there. The last play of the game where he grounded out, if he would have rounded out, they would have scored a run there and would have went to extras. So he did cost them runs, both ways. So now he hits the DL. I figured that it was one where they say, in air quotes, he's hurt, he's got a groin injury, but in reality, you're sending him to the DL so he could basically relax a bit and collect himself because he's been having an awful season. The dude's hitting 188. But I saw it was reported that Gary Sanchez could be out till late August, early September. So, I mean, you can look at it one way or the other, meaning Gary Sanchez actually has a pretty bad groin injury, so he's going to be out for a month. Or, and this is what I kind of want to believe, Gary Sanchez has just been that bad to where the dude's hurting the team. You send him down to AAA, it's going to hurt him mentally. You put him on the DL, you see how Hicks does behind the plate, and then you bring Gary back eventually. But, I mean, Gary at this point in time is hurting the Yankees more than he's helping. So I think it does the Yankees some good to have him out for a month. So I think it might just be that. I'm not sure how much I buy into the whole groin injury thing. I mean, maybe he tweaked it or whatever, but watching him run from home plate to first, it was a matter of there was no limping, no wincing, or anything like that. The dude just didn't get out the box fast. All right, lollygagged it down the line. Once he saw that the Rays didn't get the out at second, that's when he decided, oh, wow, we actually have a chance in this. Maybe I should actually start running. When in reality, it didn't end up happening because he was still thrown out by about 10 feet. I mean, it's ridiculous how the Rays go to second. They don't get that out. They still have enough time to throw Gary Sanchez out at first. So like I said, he could be hurt. Or it could just be one where the Yankees realize this dude isn't helping us at all. It's not going to help him sending him down to AAA. So just give him a break for a month. I think that's what it is. I mean, I feel like Gary Sanchez playing for the Yankees, starting for them for the next month, would hurt him even more. And I think right now, the Yankees are at that point where either they're going to implode or they're going to pick it back up. I'm assuming they pick it back up. They're too good of a team to just implode. All right, they're going to make the playoffs and all that. But either way, they need to figure out what's going on with Gary Sanchez. And if it's not going to work out, throw his backup out there. The guy who won the Hustle and Heart Award for the Yankees the day after Gary Sanchez's problem. His little hustle problem, which is hilarious. But either way, like I said, they lost today to the Rays earlier today, 3-2. I think that series is now wrapped up. Let's look at the scores from yesterday, and then we'll get into the scores going on today, because we do have a few early games going on this Wednesday. So yesterday we had the Marlins beating the Braves 9-3, the Cardinals beating the Reds 4-2, the Orioles ended up beating the Red Sox 7-6. Drew Pomeranz did not pitch well, coming back for the Red Sox off the DL. The Phillies beat the Dodgers 7-4. Twins beat the Blue Jays 5-0. The Pirates, continuing to get hot after the All-Star break, they beat the Indians 9-4. The Dumpster Fire Mets beat the Padres 6-3. The Yankees yesterday beat the Rays 4-0. Like I said, the A's had that crazy game where they won 13-10 in extras. The Diamondbacks beat the Cubs 5-1. We had the Brewers beating the Nationals 5-4. Royals beat the Tigers 5-4 also. Astros beat the Rockies 8-2 in 10 innings. The White Sox beat the Angels 4-2, and then we had the Giants beating the Mariners 4-3. Giants doing a favor to their foes across the bridge. A's now narrowing the wild card gap between the A's and Mariners. And as for the games that have gone on today, as I'm recording this, we got the Twins and Blue Jays playing. They're in the top of the third. Twins are up 3-2 right now. Giants and Mariners currently in progress. Mariners up 2-0 on the bottom of the fourth. The Padres and Mets played their game already. Mets ended up winning that one 6-4. Like I said, Yankees lost to the Rays 3-2. The Reds beat the Cardinals earlier 7-3. Phillies beat the Dodgers 7-3 also. We had the Indians taking one against the Pirates 4-0. The Nationals beat the Brewers 7-3. Tigers beat the Royals 8-4. Cubs beat the Diamondbacks 2-1, and then later on today, we got the Red Sox playing the Orioles, the A's against the Rangers, Astros, Rockies, White Sox, Angels. So, that's what's going on right now. Let's give a little update on the standings, as we always do. Red Sox, 5.5 up on the Yankees. The Indians, of course, leading the AL Central. Astros up 6 games on the Mariners. In the NL East, we got the Phillies, 1.5 games up on the Braves. 7 games up on the Nationals. Nationals might need to be sellers at this trade deadline. In the NL Central, we got the Cubs up 2.5 on the Brewers, 7 up on the Pirates. The Dodgers in the NL West up 0.5 game on the Diamondbacks, 2 games up on the Rockies, and 4 up on the Giants. And as for that wild card race in the American League, obviously you got the Yankees up there at the number 1 spot for the second wild card spot. The Mariners are now only 1.5 games up on the A's. A couple of weeks ago, the A's were down 6 games. Now, like I said, 1.5 games, they're going to make the playoffs, I think. I mean, look at the Mariners. Their run differential is 0. Meaning, they've scored the same amount of runs they've given up. This is what you call a fraud. Don't believe in that. The A's run differential, plus 37. The A's in their last 10, 8-2. The Mariners are in the last 10, 3-7. Mariners, frauds. The A's are taking that second wildcard spot. Calling that now. And as for the NL, Brewers got that number 1 wildcard spot. Braves got the second. They're 0.5 game up on the Diamondbacks, 2 games up on the Rockies, 3.5 up on the Pirates, 4 up on the Giants. I think the Giants should be sellers at the trade deadline. I don't see them making the playoffs. We'll see what they end up doing. But either way, we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, we'll be talking about anything else going on in the world of sports. So stay tuned, and I will be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We spent that first segment talking about the Browns and Dez Bryant. Second segment on KD and the Warriors. This third one on some MLB news. Talked about the A's, Yankees for the most part, then got into the scores and standings. And now, as we always do for the show, fourth segment, we talk about whatever else is going on in the world of sports. So, Andrew Luck, yes, that is a real person. All right, Andrew Luck coming into the league. Let's actually look at what Andrew Luck has done in his NFL career. I honestly feel like people forget how good the guy is. I think he is top 5 when he's healthy. At least he was top 5 before he started missing time. I mean, the dude is ridiculous. And it's ridiculous how the Colts ended up lucking out with getting Manning in 98. And then once he's pretty much done, you get Andrew Luck. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So Andrew Luck's first year starts all 16 games. They go 11-5. Throws for 4,300 yards, 23 touchdowns, 18 picks. The next year, they go 11-5. 3,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, 9 picks. 2014, they go, you guessed it, 11-5. 4,700 yards, 40 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, by far the best year of his short career so far. 2015, he's hurt. They go 2-5 in his 7 games that he starts. And I mean, he had nothing to work with there, no offensive line, not anything. 2016, he plays 15 games, they go 8-7. And he ends up missing 2017 because of a shoulder injury. Now, Andrew Luck is back, and it honestly feels like it's been years since I've seen Andrew Luck play the game of football, when in reality, we've only seen him miss 1 season. And now, it's looking like he will be back, and he will be playing week 1 of the preseason. That is big. Me, I've been a bit skeptical as far as how healthy he is and what that shoulder is looking like. Because, I mean, it's the Colts. When have they ever done anything right? They've only done 2 things right in their franchise. Draft Peyton Manning, draft Andrew Luck. People will say, oh, what about Marvin Harrison? Marvin Harrison isn't a Hall of Famer. Peyton Manning's not his quarterback. Hot take, maybe. I'm fine saying it. And I mean, I'd say, dare I say, Reggie Wayne might have been better than Marvin Harrison. Because Reggie Wayne still played well when Peyton Manning left and they had scrubs at quarterback for those couple of years until, well, when Manning ended up getting hurt, Reggie Wayne played well, is what I mean. But anyway, like I said, Luck could play week 1 of preseason. That makes me more confident in him coming into this season because of the fact that, I mean, the dude had a shoulder injury. And my whole thing with quarterbacks and shoulder injuries, if you feel any problem there and it's starting to bother you, if I'm a coach, I'm shutting you down until there's no how do you say, aches or anything like that. Because, I mean, look at Drew Brees. Dude had a shoulder injury with the Chargers. Figured that his career was over, but he's one of the few who were lucky enough to make it back from a shoulder injury and continue to play well. As for all the other quarterbacks, usually you're not coming back from that. It's like a 7-footer in the NBA getting a lower body injury. You get a lower body injury and you're 7 feet tall, you're not going to be anywhere, and I mean anywhere, as close to being as good as a player as you once were. I'm talking about DeMarcus Cousins, by the way. All right. And DeMarcus Cousins is my favorite player in the NBA. But, I mean, either way, he's a 7-footer coming off of an Achilles injury. The guy's athletic, likes to move around a lot on the floor. He's not going to be the same. There's absolutely no way. And I mean, he could prove me wrong. He'd be one of the few to, as far as coming, meaning not prove me wrong, but one of the few to come back from an injury like that and come back as good as they once were. But I highly doubt it ends up happening. So, with Andrew Luck coming back, is he going to be the quarterback that we saw before? Is he going to make the guys around him better? Because if this Colts team doesn't want to go 0-16, that's exactly what they need. I mean, their team is terrible. Let's pull up their roster and look at it. So at running back, Marlon Mack is their best guy. Last season, I wanted him to take over for Gore. I thought Marlon Mack, it was time for him, kind of like a DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry type of thing, where you saw Derrick Henry probably should be the every down back, but nonetheless, they were still splitting time. I was going on with Marlon Mack and Frank Gore, and I just think it was Marlon Mack just didn't take the job. I think he had an opportunity to, but he just never took advantage of it. You got Robert Turbin, former Seattle Seahawks running back, and one of my personal favorites, Christine Michael. Christine Michael has literally built a career on this year being his year. Meaning, last year was supposed to be the year he takes over and becomes a starter. That didn't happen. The year before that, same thing, it didn't happen. Year before that, same thing, it didn't happen. The dude has spent 6 years in the NFL and hasn't done a thing. I want to be good enough to do that. I mean, let's look at Christine Michael's stats. And 6 years, I'm saying, is a lot. And good for him. He's been able to last this long. But either way, he's literally built a career on, no, this is going to be his year. So let's see. He came into the league in 2013. Played 4 games with the Seahawks. Didn't start any. Had only had 18 carries that season for 79 yards. The next year, he plays 10 games, no starts, 34 carries, 175 yards. 2015, he plays for Dallas and Seattle. With Seattle, he starts 2 games. Well, his totals for 2015, plays 8 games, starts 2 of them, 54 carries, 243 yards. 2016, he ends up playing for Seattle and Green Bay. His totals there, 7 games started, 15 games played, 148 carries, 583 yards, 7 touchdowns. 2016 was his best year. 2017, he didn't play. Yet, here he is on the Colts roster. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? So, I mean, I'm assuming that Marlon Mack's going to end up being the starting running back for that team. I'm not sure how excited you can be for that if you're a Colts fan. Looking at the receivers, T.Y. Hilton, going to be their obvious number 1. And I'm assuming it's going to be Ryan Grant as the number 2 receiver. I know Ryan Grant, the Packers running back. Ryan Grant, the former Redskins receiver, not as good as Ryan Grant, the former Packers running back. All right. Ryan Grant, when he was with Washington as a receiver, didn't really do anything. I mean, sometimes I wonder, like, how these guys, and like I said, I'm not trying to hate on them or anything like that. You last long in the NFL, good for you. But there's a point where you're looking at these front offices, why are you bringing these guys in? Ryan Grant has not proved so far in his career that he's a number 2 receiver. He wasn't even a number 2 receiver on Washington last season, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like they had Josh Dotson and Jamison Crowder as the 1 and 2 there. But of course, it's the Colts. The Colts front office has always been absolutely terrible. I mean, the Colts have honestly, like, if not for Peyton Manning, they'd probably be one of the worst franchises in the history of the NFL. I mean, look at them this season. People forget that Josh McDaniels was almost going to become their head coach and then just said, yeah, I'm good, never mind. All right. Frank Reich, their head coach now, wasn't even their first choice. But either way, one player I do like on that offense besides Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton is Jack Doyle. I think he's going to have a breakout season this year. But the point I'm trying to make here is Andrew Luck going to make these guys better, the guys around him better? If we're going to get that Andrew Luck, or are we going to get an Andrew Luck who's a good quarterback still, but doesn't have the same ability that he had before? It's a good question to ask. And I think it's one where we don't got the answer yet, obviously. They play Cincinnati week 1. If I remember correctly, their schedule isn't the most difficult, but either way, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how Andrew Luck ends up doing. So we'll see what ends up happening with that team, but I mean, the Colts have always just been pretty bad at anything they've done besides picking up quarterbacks in the draft. So we'll see what ends up happening with them. We got some camp holdouts. Aaron Donald holding out. Aaron Donald's in the last year of his deal. I understand why he's holding out. If I'm him, they got Ndamukong Suh. I'm not playing a game until you guys pay me. That's what I'm telling the Rams. Because there's a point where Aaron Donald is the number 1 defensive tackle in the league, and the Rams have seemingly locked up everyone long-term besides the best player. Second, I don't know. If you had to pick one, who's better at their position? Is it Aaron Donald or Todd Gurley? I'm assuming it's Aaron Donald because Aaron Donald's the best defensive tackle. Todd Gurley, for me, isn't even a top 3 running back. He's number 4. But, of course, he's not top 3. And, I mean, Aaron Donald's going to lick. Brandon Cooks is getting an extension. The dude hasn't even played a game for the Rams yet, ever. So, if I'm him, I'm sitting out. I'm telling him. You signing all these other guys long-term, bringing in Ndamukong Suh, paying him $14 million guaranteed. Cool. I'll show up when I start getting that. And I guarantee you, the Rams will pay him. It's a risky move, obviously, because you're going to lose some money, but you'll make that all back with your extension. And I'm sure people are thinking, well, you said Julio Jones. Why not Julio Jones hold on? Julio Jones got 3 more years left on his deal. Julio Jones has absolutely zero leverage. If I'm the Falcons front office and Julio and his agent tell me, yeah, we're holding out, I'm laughing at him saying, okay, go ahead. We'll see you in a week. What, does Julio think he's going to get more money when he's got 3 years left on a deal? Does his agent actually believe that he could get more money for him? Come on now. Really? No. All right. So that's why I laugh at Julio. Dude's got no leverage at all. This is one of the weaker holdouts I've ever seen. Earl Thomas, hold out, great. He's in the last year of his career, or last year of his deal. Aaron Donald, great. Last year of his deal. Khalil Mack, also holding out. Last year of his deal. Julio Jones, holding out because a couple years ago when he signed his deal, he was the highest paid receiver. But his agent wasn't smart enough to work a deal where the money is evenly distributed throughout the contract. Julio's already made all his guaranteed money. Now it's just all incentives. Julio, I think you should fire your agent maybe. But either way, yeah, if I'm the Falcons, okay, Julio, we'll see you later. He's going to be there week 1. Falcons fans are completely freaking out about it. I don't know why. Just put 2 and 2 together. You really think Julio's not going to show up week 1 and lose all that money? The dude's got 3 years left. He knows it. He knows he has no leverage. So, we'll see. But like I said, that is one of the weaker holdouts I've ever seen. So we're going to wrap it up here. Today, we talked Browns, Dez Bryant, Warriors, A's, Yankees, Andrew Luck, and players holding out. So, thanks for listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast. As always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. I will be back tomorrow, so stay tuned, and I will talk to you guys later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.